Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simon Proswag, and I would like to discuss the differences between liberty and freedom. Perhaps the one thing which makes primitive definitions of liberty and freedom so challenging to understand by modern generations is the fact that there is no major difference between those terms, with the definitions making the two terms practically synonymous. When Magna Carta was originally scripted in 1215, it was a charter which was originally designed to define the political, civil, and legal rights of English subjects without separating the English crown from the rest of the English people and without creating a total separation between the church and the state. As is laid out in the charter's first clause, the purpose of the charter was to grant freedom to the English crown while being the charter on the precepts of God, precepts which would be granted to all free men and would include liberties granted by God to theirs and future generations. According to Daniel Hannion, this clause, the clause which details the liberties and freedoms of the City of London, and the Charter 29th clause, which details the right of due process, are the only three clauses in the Charter which are still relevant today and are still enforced today. The clause on the right of due process goes as follows: no free man is to be taken or imprisoned or deceased of his free tenement or of his liberties or free customs or outlawed or exiled or in any way ruined, nor will we go against such a man or send against him save by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. To no one will we sell or deny or delay right or justice. It is this premise of due process which has stood the test of time and was one of the basic precepts which form the foundations of the constitutional government put into place in the United States. According to Augusto Zimmerman, it was the American view of the Magna Carta as a charter which enshrined natural or God-given rights, which in turn served as the inspiration for America's Bill of Rights, as well as the various documents which could be viewed as constitutional predecessors of the United States Constitution. According to Sir Henry de Bracton, the King of England was someone who ought to be under God and under the law, and as such was someone whose political power should be guided by his legal responsibility to his people, whose freedoms and liberties were guided by common law out of the grace of God. In reality, it was the code of law set up by America's founding fathers under the guidance of the treatises of civil government by John Locke, which really began to set up a distinction between freedoms and liberties. As long as freedoms and liberties were predominantly a product of natural law, there was no clear distinction between those two terms. The first two English scholars to define English common law as a delicate combination of natural and legal reason were Sir Edward Coke and John Selden, who helped script the English Parliament's Petition of Right in 1628, a declaration which helped to lay out the distinctions between freedoms and liberties leading up to the English Civil War, ideals which were believed to be uninfringible by anyone, including the king. While such a declaration earned both men sentences in the Tower of London, the declaration proved to be very influential to scholars like Sir Matthew Hale and America's founding fathers, who saw its legal attitudes as the basis of their ideal of constitutionalism. However, by 1641, Magna Carta and the Petition of Right would prove to be two of the most influential documents when it came to the codification of the Massachusetts Body of Liberties by Nathaniel Ward, and later the English Bill of Rights in 1689 and the American Bill of Rights in 1789, with the American Bill of Rights being the first to establish different distinguishable definitions of the concepts of freedom and liberty, while also establishing a differentiation between the rights of the church, the rights of the states, and the rights of the individual.